We have a brand new update coming to Way the Hunter, full of bug fixes, bringing a couple of brand new features as well, including 3 new scopes from Bushnell, one of which being the scope with the highest magnification in the entire game, that being the Bushnell Elite Tactical that we have on the Remington 700 long range right now. It is a 3.5 to 21 power scope, and it's got some really nice and I think useful mill dots on here. Obviously we have the ability to use 100 cents to help with windage and holdover, but maybe with this scope, we can go for some of those really long shots without the aid of using 100 cents. So this can be purchased for 3,300 in-game credits. We are, by the way, in the development branch, so this update is not out yet, but it can be played on the dev branch. If we go quickly into the shop though, we'll take a look at all 3 of the new Bushnell scopes. We have the Bushnell Engage, that's just a 3 to 9 basic lens quality. We have the Bushnell Engage 4 to 16, that's going to be standard lens quality, 4 to 16 magnification, and of course the one that I think most people are going to be most excited about, the Elite Tactical, 3.5 to 21 power. 50mm lens size is going to be a good field of view, and of course that deluxe lens quality, that's the scope I think most people are going to be excited about. And those 3 scopes are not the only new features to Way the Hunter. We also have coming new trophy types for mule deer. I think it's just going to be essentially more racks that can spawn, but we have some stickers, essentially like a non-typical type rack. What I think of when I imagine a big mule deer, I'll put that image on screen here so you can see what they showed on Steam, and hopefully we can go and find one of those in multiplayer here on Nez Perce Valley. On top of that, maybe even more exciting, Melanistic Caribou are being added over on Aurora Shores, so we'll also be doing a quick multiplayer session on Aurora Shores, see if we can maybe stumble into one, see what they look like, and get to use these new scopes. So we're going to jump into multiplayer, just so we have the best chance of those new racks spawning from mule deer. We'll start on Nez Perce, and then we'll get to Aurora Shores in a bit. Now, at least at first glance here for this herd of mule deer, I don't see any with any kind of stickers or anything that really stands out. This mature buck here maybe has an antler that I'm not certain I've seen before, but it could kind of be a variation of one we've already had. So one nice thing, you can see this 21 power scope, we can really examine everything that's in here and get a good look at what we're potentially going to go for. In this case, it'll be that guy. Shoot him with the 300 mostly because I want to use this scope, and you may have noticed already in the bottom right, we have a little bit of a new HUD. Down there we get to see the gun, we have a new way of how to display, you know, how much ammo we have in the gun, how much ammo we have left. I really like the way they kind of cleaned that up. I think it's a lot nicer than it was before. So good to see that improvement on top of all this other stuff. But as for this buck, I'm fairly certain at least, these are antlers we've already had in the game. He's super wide set, so I'm not like fully certain. I don't know, this one I think is different. Maybe they've added some new typicals as well. I just don't recognize this, you know, really small fork. And we've done a lot of hunting on Nez Perce, so maybe that's new? Tough to tell, but cool to see. About a 59%er, and because this is the development branch, this, while it is our main save file brought in, it's not going to be anything that copies over, and of course we're in multiplayer, so it makes no difference in terms of managing our herds. But we're going to jump around to a couple of mule deer hotspots, maybe see if we can find one of those with stickers. I think that right there is what we're after. He may even be a 5-star, I can't tell. Got a lot of mass on him. That is a 4-star, which is maybe even better. 1, because we don't get to really keep it anyway, but 2, they get bigger than that. I mean, that looks insane. So that's 220 yards. I want to use the mid-tier scope, the 4 to 16 power. It's kind of convoluted, I'm not going to lie. I'd sort of wish there were a little less to it, but we'll go with this for now. Ton of blood there from the Styra Gams. Man, what a good looking buck. I love to see that. It was a little laggy where he went down, but when I think of trophy mule deer, I typically don't think of, ironically, atypical, like a 5x5. Usually I'm imagining, you know, a mainframe 5x5 with a couple of stickers here and there, and that is, I think, what they're going for. And for me, I kind of am maybe more excited about this, not only because it's mule deer in a species we hunt a lot, but because hopefully they go that direction with maybe every species in the game at some point. More mule deer racks, more whitetail racks, more moose, elk, red deer, and so on and so forth. I think that is what gives this game more and more replayability, but I love to see that. Look at that. That is awesome. Let's go ahead and just go into the harvest screen and inspect this. For one, hard shot from the Steyr Games at 213 yards. That was an 86% or so. A chance he gets to 5-star would have been really, really close. But that's what I wanted to see. That is so cool. So we're going to tax this just so we can take a look back in the lodge as well. And maybe we'll see if we can find one more just quickly. Whether it's one with stickers, whether it's maybe a new typical rack, whatever. We've really only found 2 herds so far. And each has had some kind of new rack. I don't think that's going to be the same herd that doe just called from, so maybe there'll be one right down here below us. I believe that's going to be another one. That's a 2-star adult buck. So a fair chance he could be a future 5-star. Look how tall he is, though. Like, that's definitely a new typical rack. I think we'll go ahead and get that and then maybe see what else runs out of there. Because he's kind of walking back towards the brush, and he took a step, too. We hit too far back. I think with the 300 is going to get him. So that herd down the river didn't have anything new. So what I did was just grab the UTV and started going down the public land, kind of where you begin on Nez Perce, and just looking for any mule deer buck that stood out. That guy did. I just hope we got him. That step was not kind to us. So tough track. Definitely, I think, lucked out that we happened to have the new best scope on the 300, therefore used the 300 to take this guy down. That just, it looks like, it almost reminds me of a desert mule deer rack. Super tall, kind of narrow, and yeah, way too far back as he took that step. But yeah, that was a 95%er, and again, not worried about ruining future 5-stars here. But that's cool to see, and when this update drops, if you see this rack on a 2-star adult, I would say don't shoot it, but safe to say, not only are some of these new racks, you know, for lower star rating animals, it's not as if they've added 3 5-star racks and called it good. There's a bunch of new racks from mule deer, whether it's 1 stars, 2 stars, we saw the 4-star all the way up, I imagine, to 5 stars, and I'm looking forward to seeing a whole bunch more of them. We're going to be on Nez Perce Valley managing our mule deer herds as much as possible once this update drops, but I want to go back to the lodge real quick, take a closer look at the 4-star that we shot with the stickers, and then we'll jump over to Aurora Shores. That looks so nice. He's actually, and again, just a 4-star, almost touching the ceiling. I love that rack, though. I'm imagining there's something like a 5-star, like, variation of this, if that makes any sense. I cannot wait to see it. And we saw in that preview image, there's ones with, you know, far more stickers than this. I mean, that looks exactly like what I want. And we know there's even bigger than this. There's more stickers than this. What a great job. By the way, the Hunter devs, we need to fill our lodge when this update drops with as many mule deer that look like that as possible. I mean, imagine a melanistic mule deer buck with a rack like that, or maybe a future albino mule deer buck with a rack like that. So many possibilities running through my head of what we could see. It's a huge step in the right direction, though. Anyway, let's jump over to Aurora Shores. We're going to do multiplayer as well, just we maybe have a better chance of running into a Melanistic Caribou. We got to see the new mule deer racks pretty quickly. We'll see if the caribou cooperate as well. I will say, so far, we've seen a ton of caribou. No melanistics to speak of. And when the albino chamois released, we found one, I think, in like 20 minutes. So perhaps the melanistic caribou are a little bit more rare, and I would say that's a good thing. But also in this update is a change to the sound of the 338 Lapua. So I want to go ahead and fire it and see if we can tell the difference between what we have now and the old sound. So there's a 2-star mature back there, and actually he's going to stop. But I think we can sidestep that. And it's got a really nice sound to it. It's not quite as loud, I think, as before, but I like the echo. I like kind of the spatial sound you get with it. I definitely think it's an improvement, and I would say it's similar, at least, to the 700 long range. Compare that to the Steyr SM12, I think it's got a more kind of booming sound to it. The 700 long range, and now I would say the 338 Lapua, they're a little bit more subdued compared to that, at least, assuming that the SM12 hasn't changed as well. Single lung shot, insta dropped him. That was an 86%er, If only he had been Melanistic, but we'll continue on our search for one. If there's a Melanistic Caribou on this map, I sure can't find it. And again, I think that's a good thing. Rares in Way the Hunter typically aren't the most rare encounters to have in the entire game. And I think, you know, I mentioned earlier, the new racks being a big deal. I think that's where that's really key. For the most part, I mean, like I said, we found that albino chamois after they came out in a matter of minutes. And we've got like a melanistic moose here on our shores. Typically at any given time, we've got a rare or two that we're watching on every map. So the fact that we didn't easily find a melanistic caribou, I consider good. Hopefully they really are extremely rare. And that kind of speaks to why I think this timing is really good, and also why we're not just going to spend the next 2 hours or so looking for a melanistic caribou to put in this video. It is hunting season, and I'm trying to get this video done and get out to hunt tonight, so luckily we have a reference image of a melanistic from Way the Hunter. However, we're moving towards the end of hunting season, and in not too long, we'll have a lot more time to put into Way the Hunter, hopefully age up that melanistic moose that I mentioned, and in the meantime, while we're trying to pass time on Aurora Shores, shoot a whole ton of caribou, manage our herds, and hopefully get a melanistic or two to spawn in our single player that we'll actually be able to keep. And maybe one other good thing about not finding a melanistic, it's not as if we just found one that we can't have in our lodge. So that is going to do it for this video. I'm super encouraged by the mule deer racks. Can't wait to actually see a melanistic caribou for real. The new scopes, by the way, specifically the Elite Tactical, I really like. Definitely going to be running this on pretty much every rifle we use going forward. And all those bug fixes. I mentioned that long list. We had like the rocks, by the way, on lower settings that were looking really dark. They fixed that. It's super encouraging to see consistent updates, consistent content, and bug fixes along with the updates that improve the game and improve the overall playing experience. But anyway, that is going to do it for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.